on it, and it had a lot of importance, especially with the increase in prices of maize and wheat, for example. You have given me instructions, Mr. President, in terms of wheat, for example, to be getting the wheat onto the stock market of commodities, to be stabilizing its price, and we have decreased its price already, which could be costing about 10,600 instead of 15,000. And we are heading to soybeans, maize or corn, the breaded grains. We will be eradicating the whole idea of the black market. So now we have the decision to be buying and selling all the grains through the stock market of grains and commodities. All of this has been achieved in 1 year. About 8,000 transactions have been done through the stock market. For Sunday and Wednesday, we are trading on wheat. Sugar is being traded. About 235 companies are trading over the stock market for commodities. For the citizen to be getting the commodity itself, we need a better distribution, a network of distributions. We have had a lot of problems, but right now, all of the companies working on the market in Egypt, they have thousands of websites regarding the outlets and the wholesale outlets to be distributing commodities. Regarding the distribution, the organized distribution, we have a map. And this map is related to the outlets, the places that they don't have outlets. We try to be setting up markets and outlets and logistical areas to be easily accessible for the citizens. It's like franchising. We give the companies the commodities and we give them some gains. So this idea has come up with thousands of job opportunities. We have a good distribution network now. If any citizen wants any commodity, he would be having a logistical area or a market maximum, at the maximum of 500 meters. And this means that we are going through the process of digital transformation for the future. The Ministry of Supply is one of the biggest ministries that are involved in this process of the digital transformation. And afterwards, we have developed the customer service. We have developed centers to be serving the citizens. Before 2014, we didn't have that. We didn't have any of that. Over the past 3 years, we have had 378 service centers with more than £598.7 million. So we are getting young men and young women who want to be working with us an opportunity to be working. We have a unified database for the commercial files, because before that every governorate used to have its own commercial files. But now all over Egypt we have a unified database. So whenever you are or wherever you are all over the Republic, you could be having a commercial file easily. And you could be doing all of those transactions from the National Bank of Egypt or Bank of Egypt or any other bank. This procedure has cost us £3.8 million. Of course, all of those databases, they are connected, they are unified, they are connected, but all of these commercial files could be connected through the website. We have a lot of centers to be protecting the consumers and the customers. So we have spoken about the commodity itself, the accessibility to the commodity, how the citizen could be getting the commodity easily. It was so important for the citizen to be getting the commodities easily, so we have worked on a couple of things. No commodity has got more expensive over the past year. So it's easy for the people to be accessing and getting the commodities with the same prices that they used to have in the past year. Commodities like rice, pasta, they have the same prices. We haven't changed the prices over the past year. And the amount of support from the state to the citizen has increased a lot over the past year as well, to be alleviating the burden on the citizens, especially after the global conflicts. The support for bread, for example, was about 18.5%. Now it is about 91% to be keeping the price at the same level for bread, for example. So the support has doubled at least twice over the past 9 years. Despite all the challenges, despite all the problems that Egypt has gone through, there was no shortage ever in any commodity. And I would like to announce that today we have a strategic storage of 5 months of wheat, 6 months of sugar, of oil for the first time. This is the first time to happen. 6.6 months of oil, 3 months of rice. Although the season had started, for poultry, we have reserves for 12 months. In cooperation with Sudan. We have had agreement with Djibouti to bring us livestock for 3 months and continuing. So thank God, thank you Mr. President for giving me the opportunity to be telling the tale of a nation. Dr. Ali, people say that Dr. Ali is not controlling the prices of commodities on the markets. I would want you to make more effort. We have to stand by the citizen. He has every right, for one reason or another. He goes and sees one commodity for 18 pounds, then 20 pounds, then 25 pounds. And we know how social media works. They could be giving prices that are not even realistically on the ground. I was speaking with the Minister of Agriculture and Prime Minister Madbouli. When the price of onion has increased, we had taken the decision not to be exporting onion. So today, the price of onion has decreased. Rice would be decreasing as well. In cooperation with the Prime Minister, we would have a plan for sugar. Sugar would be sold at a fixed price. I have a meeting with the sellers of sugar on Tuesday morning at the ministry. They would be agreeing on such a plan, so we would be controlling the price once again. Members of House of Representatives, they come to me and say, we need a fixed price. But the Constitution has said otherwise, that this is a free market. I should be protecting the market and the commodities and the free practices. But I would take the chance to be speaking with the Prime Minister to be fixing the price for a period of time. We have used that once in 2014, but I don't want that to be going every day. Whenever we have reserves of wheat, so I sold it over the market. Sugar would be having the same idea. Sugar globally has increased just like oil, petrol. Brazil and the United States, they support people or companies who get sugar into methanol. So it could be a form of energy. The biggest exporter of sugar is Brazil, and the biggest country to be working in clean energy is Brazil as well. Who is supporting Brazil? It's the United States. So the circumstances outside of Egypt are pressuring us. It would be easy to be going on the Egyptian market and seeing every violator, every violating market, and closing the whole place. This is the easiest thing. But we need to speak, and we need to be getting the law into place. Tomatoes and onions. We used to have problems nowadays, but whenever they were less expensive or cheap, no one spoke about that. I would be very happy if the people blame me for not fixing the prices. There is one part that we could be controlling, but the other we can't in terms of fixing prices for the commodities and the fruits and vegetables. But I can promise that tomorrow would be a lot better than today, God willing. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Musilhi, the Minister of Supply and Internal Trade, and addressing what has happened in this file over the past 9 years, and to be getting a better vision from food security to water security. We would start with Dr. Hani Suwailam, the Minister of Water Resources. But I would like to invite you to see the next short film regarding the achievements in the water resources file. The problem of water resources is a global problem, and those problems could be increased in the future. With the increasing population here in Egypt, the country has planned to diversify the water resources and decrease the water consumption. Egypt has invested a lot in this sector, like water desalination, for example, and to be building water dams and depending on the new technologies in terms of irrigation, to be using less and less amounts of money. The amount of water has increased to the agricultural sector by about 75%, which could be getting us about 28% of Egypt's needs of water resources from different parts. We have saved 4.8 billion cubic meters of water, and in 2021 we have had a big achievement in the water desalination and the water cycles projects, as this cycle and this station had the goal of cultivating lands in the Sinai Peninsula to be getting the sustainable development ongoing in Sinai. The station of Bahr al-Ba'r has had 3 Guinness World Records, being the biggest water station in the world, which will be giving us bigger opportunities and better opportunities to be cultivating the lands in Ad-Daba, which has 75% of construction that has already been done. All of this has happened, and all of this has increased the amount of agricultural lands. Water security for Egypt is a priority for the country, and Egypt would still having more plans and better opportunities to be providing water security for its citizens. Dr. Hani Suwailam, the Minister of Water Resources, the obstacles and the challenges that we are facing are not less dangerous than, of course, food security. What has happened in this field over the past 9 years? Your Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of Egypt, the attendants, I would like to speak about the story of a nation, but from the perspective of water resources, and I'm sorry for being late. The water resources file is a bit different than the other files for one big reason, because the file of water resources starts from outside the borders of Egypt. Of course, it is very evident ever since 2014, the Egyptian insistence on having better relations between Egypt and other African and Nile Basin countries, to be specific. This cooperation has been going on over a number of years. Egypt has constructed a dam called Jabal al-Awliya in Sudan. There is another dam, Arosiris, in Khashm al-Irba in Sudan. the dam of Oin in Uganda over the past 3 years. And Egypt has also constructed the dam of Julius Nyerere in Tanzania. And this shows the cooperation between Egypt and the Nile Basin countries, not just for the building of dams, but for also to be getting them drinking water to the citizens in the Nile Basin countries, in cooperation with the Ministry of Water Resources and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have good cooperation. A lot of water stations have been run over solar power in South Sudan, Congo, Sudan, Tanzania. We have dams and even building harbors. Over the past few years, over the past 9 years in specific, we provide the know-how for Congo, for example, and South Sudan. We are training thousands of Africans. We are cooperating with the Nile Basin countries with about $100 million in expenditures. The High Dam, which is the biggest and the most important structure that was constructed by the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, which is more than 60 years old. Very important structure. We will be continuing as well because the water is going out of the High Dam, heading to the oldest facilities and structures over the course of history regarding the water resources and irrigation. Millions of pounds have been spent over the borders of the Nile. About 2,300 projects have been constructed over the Nile. We have the old facilities, and we are building new facilities as well with better technology. In Asyut, New Asyut, for example, with an expenditure of £1 billion. Another facility in Beirut for about £1.2 billion in New Beirut. Another facility in Sarabium, transferring water under the Suez Canal to be getting water to Sinai. A lot of facilities that are being developed, reaching about £3 billion, with an expenditure of £12 billion over the past 9 years. Some of the projects have been funded by the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation as well as the Ministry of Agriculture at the same time. Over the past 6 months, we have had an evaluation of the facilities that we have, 55,000 kilometers of waterways in Egypt. So we can see the best facilities that we have, the dangerous facilities that we have. How can we be renovating them for the future? How can we be maintaining them for the future, whether big, whether small? After developing the water resources, as we have seen over the past few years, we have a lot of stations that should be working around the clock. If any station doesn't work for just a couple of hours, a lot of homes, a lot of farmers would be having no water for days, for example. A lot of hotspots, which has a lot of damages and problems in terms of maintenance. So to be reaching about 1.7 million faddans over the past 6 months or 1 year, a lot of the hotspots have been resolved. The emergency centers that we have, they are like the ambulance of the Ministry of Water Resources. If any problem regarding water resources happens, those emergency stations act like an ambulance. They go to the place of the problem and they solve it on the spot. We have a lot of cooperation with the local industrial sector as well. This has cost us 6.4 million pounds. 1 more billion pounds we have got from the Tahya Masr Fund, or Long Live Egypt Fund. For the short term, we will be having 3 more stations. We would have a lot of mechanical assistance and maintenance works. So we need the citizens to be taking care of the waterways as well. Instead of cleaning the waterways, it would be a lot less expensive if no one threw anything at the waterways all over the country. To be pumping water all over Egypt, all over the network that we have. Can we be getting money to every factory, every farmer, every citizen all over Egypt? Before 2014, I didn't want to show you worse pictures. Those pictures, as we can see, are waterways or canals. As you can see, it doesn't carry a lot of water, so the water is not getting to the farmers. So the lands, they don't get the water and they die over time. Those pictures that we can see to be lining the canals, as we can see, it gets water easier to the farmers. Those bridges that we can see, we didn't have before. We have a bigger amount of water going through the canal and reaching the farmers. A lot of money was spent. 7,200 kilometers have been constructed. So we need about 10 billion pounds are needed to be getting more kilometers done in the future. How can we be developing the canals, the water lines? The state has done more efforts because President Sisi has given us instructions to be focusing and concentrating on how the money is being spent and how the water is being used by the farmers and the citizens. So we need to decrease the amount of water that are being used over the year. We want to decrease the amount of water, but the farmer, he wants more productivity. How can we be doing both at the same time? So there's other watering techniques, new watering techniques. As the farmer has to win, he has to gain money, and we have to be decreasing the amount of water being used. Another problem that is facing the state is that every farmer, he has a small part of land to cultivate. So he needs more money and more equipment and more water in order to be cultivating this small part of land. So why can't we be getting a lot of farmers together and to be giving them water and to be giving them money as the one unit? They could be cultivating as one. They could be getting their equipment as one entity, as a single unit. This should be decreasing the expenditures. One line could be serving a lot of farmers and could be working on solar energy. We need to be having better protocols with the banks as well to be as we have a big population here in Egypt. We need billions of cubic meters of water every year just to be covering the number of people that we have. As we have seen previous statements by the Minister of Housing, he has problems regarding housing and we have problems regarding providing water. Billions of cubic meters of water every year. So we need to be preserving the water that we have. And I'm not speaking about the stations that you have seen during the video. No, we need to add to all those once again. from the station of Bahr al-Baqar, for example, from Daba as well. Those are the two biggest stations all over the world. And we have had a cost of 170 billion pounds regarding those stations. And this is for the Ministry of Water Resources alone. For the environmental development, we will be speaking about one project. President Sisi has spoken previously about the projects that were constructed at the northern lakes. The oasis of Siwa, for example, it has had a lot of problems. There were a lot of random wells were dug to be getting water. So the water has turned from pure to salty water. So the lakes, as we can see in Siwa, for example, the amount of salt has increased in the water there. So this couldn't be used in watering trees, for example, or the palm trees. So this destroyed the whole environmental outlook for Siwa. I wouldn't say I had participated in this project from the beginning of it, but there is cooperation between the Ministry of Water Resources, the Armed Forces Engineering Authority, and the experts and scientists and the tribes leaders in Siwa. And we have had an engineering solution to be transferring a lot of the water from within Siwa to outside of it, to be closing all of the random wells that were dug, and to be digging other wells, at a depth of at least 1 kilometer to be getting pure drinking water from outside of it. Even the tribe leaders in Marsa Matruh, they are speaking about a revival of Siwa. And we are celebrating the success, or the start of the success of this project. It has 2 or 3 phases left to be done. We have seen reports on social media and mainstream media saying that we are destroying, the government is destroying the Siwa oasis, which is not true. This project, I would like for the students to be studying such a project, because a lot of people have said that we are destroying. We are destroying Siwa, but they should be asking the people of Siwa, the tribes of Siwa. They said this is very successful, a good project for them, for the benefit of the citizens there. Because such a project in the Siwa Oasis incorporates with the Haya Karima initiative, which is the biggest project, in my opinion, over the history of Egypt. We have spoken about the COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, the overpopulation, but the climatic changes, the negative repercussions of the climate changes as well, they have cost us a lot. The climatic problems that we have witnessed, especially the extreme negative repercussions of the climate change, we have seen them in Upper Egypt, for example, with the floods. So you have had a lot of facilities, a lot of dams, a lot of bridges that were built in Upper Egypt with $1.8 billion spent there in Upper Egypt to be facing the negative repercussions of climate change, and more specifically from the floods. We don't have enough time to be speaking about every project, but from Aswan to Cairo, we have at least about 55 projects, and we have another plan from 2024 to 2026 to be improving the facilities and increasing it. Taba, for example, has had floods, one of the floods in 2014. Big investments in Taba. Tourism was being affected in Taba, so we needed a lot of work. In South Sinai, North Sinai, and the Red Sea Governorate, they have had a lot of work and a lot of dams as well, and in Marsa Matruh, to be saving the investments and to be saving money and water at the same time. Of course, this is serving the citizens in the governorates that I have mentioned. It is not just about the floods, but to be protecting our northern coastal lines. This is a coast called Al Ubaid in Marsa Matruh. This is a free, open coast to be protecting the facilities in the back, as we can see. So we have saved the facilities and we have formed a new beach. We have spent £3.6 billion to be protecting 120 kilometers of the coastal lines. That's about 10% of the coastal lines that we have here in Egypt. The lands that we have won, 1.8 million cubic meters. So we can say how much money have we saved and the amount of investments that we have gained. the citadel of Qaitbay as well in Alexandria. They have had the same problem, and the state has intervened, and I was there last Friday, and we can see the corridor surrounding the citadel. And I know what I'm saying. All of those bridges and facilities, they are newly built. They have nothing to do with the citadel. We needed to be protecting the citadel and respecting its environment as well at the same time. The Ministry of Water Resources, it has 2,335 projects providing thousands of job opportunities, cooperating with thousands of private sector companies. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry for speaking for a long time. Thank you very much, Dr. Hani Swailem, the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation, for this speech. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has the opportunity to comment. Dr. Hani said that thousands of dangerous files should be tackled. I would tell Dr. Mustafa to be focusing on such a topic. Another point, Dr. Hani. Dr. Hani was a professor in Germany. I asked him to get here and work. I told him you would have a lot of obstacles and hardships, and he said yes, and he came and worked. I would like to thank him in front of all of the Egyptians. I know very well that someone who has lived in Germany and worked at good universities is not used to ignorance and lies. But I need you to be strong and to keep up. I would like to speak about marketing. Marketing is very important for the people to know. People have to know the truth, because one could be misleading other people without even knowing. As Dr. Hani said, the project of Siwa isn't good. The road of Alamein isn't good. So social media works in a bad way sometimes. So this is our problem. We need to be working and we need to be speaking about our work. The channels are getting cooking shows every day. Every day, cooking show. So why don't we go and speak about our files, our fields, and speak about our projects instead of cooking shows? The Ministry of Supply, if you get more news regarding your projects, regarding your work on television, I would like to tell Dr. Hani in 2014, Taba, as we did see, the amount of projects that were implemented, the plan of bridges and dams were built 7 years ago after what happened in Taba. Every year and I would tell every Egyptian, these floods would be damaging roads, and we would maintaining it by £1 billion. So I said, why is there not a scientific plan to be dealing with these problems? Taba had a lot of damages regarding tourism and the five-star hotels, and up till now. So the same idea that Dr. Mustafa Madbouli spoke about for Upper Egypt and South and North Sinai, I would like you to give me a plan to be speaking about in the future. Dr. Hani spoke about the water issue. We didn't have enough time to be speaking about it. I always say the public opinion and the society to be knowing more about a very important and a dangerous topic. A million citizens needs 1 million meters of cubic meters of water. We have about 150 million citizens, about 140 to 150. So we need 50 million cubic meters. So let's say there are 25. How can we get them? If only we get all the water that we get and use them for the people. As for the water of the recycling station in Ain al-Sukhna, this station it was recycled for New Cairo and the new administrative capital. It is not drinking water. It could be used for agriculture, for parks, getting use of water. I would say again, population, overpopulation, Dr. Hala, Doctor, we can say that the Egyptian state is getting bigger. How much water do we need in the future? As we know, if we get more stations or build more stations, it wouldn't be enough. Not for the drinking water, at least. For those stations, Dr. Mustafa, if you want to build more, how much would it cost? About 1,000 billion. Very big sums of money. We don't have them, and we wouldn't get them in the future. So our people who are in agriculture, please use the water wisely. Please be careful, because this means you could be affecting the lives of others. For Upper Egypt, in agriculture, the water that would be used in Upper Egypt would be saved as well and going to somewhere else. The Minister of Housing has said that we need 3,000 cycling stations to be using once again, to be using water once again, instead of it going to waste. 7 years ago, it could be costing us 300 million pounds. So what do we need to do? There is nothing I can do now. The state itself, it has nothing to do right now for water, except to know that the number of people is getting bigger. Whenever we speak about anything, overpopulation is dangerous. Regarding any file, the citizen wouldn't know this except after 10 years he would know that he wouldn't have water and he wouldn't have proper drinking water for the future after 30 years. So what could we do? We need to change. We need to move. No one knows how and no one knows why, because we don't speak. We speak to ourselves in the offices, at the cabinet, but not for the people. We need awareness. We need a public opinion, because where we're going is not going well. When I came up with the idea or the plan with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Housing of getting better stations, because the water that is used for cultivation, for agriculture, from the sewage even, could be used once again to other purposes, and maybe for drinking. There is nothing that we can do more than that. To be constructing stations for 1 million citizens, it couldn't be done. It wouldn't be done. Speaking about education, the same problem. For health, same problem. Food security. For employment, the same problem. So what do we need? The people of Egypt, what do you need to know more that what we're doing is committing suicide? 1 year after the other. 10 years ago feels like it was just yesterday. And we have had 25 million more people in 10 years, but we wouldn't have 25 billion cubic meter over the same period. All of this money wouldn't be enough. All of the money spent wouldn't be enough. I'm bringing you here to know the tale and to see. I thank the banking sector over the past few years. I would like to say to the governor of the central bank, for the sake of Egypt, you're not alone at the bank watching us. I'm speaking seriously. This is ours all together. We need to build. We have spoken a lot about the tale of a nation. I wouldn't think that anyone would stay up till now, until late, but whoever sees us would like to know what happened, what are we talking about. And I would say again, and I would say to every citizen, it isn't just about one citizen. This country belongs to all of us. We need to protect it. It's not just about me. I am old now. But for the children and for the future generations, what will you be leaving for them? They would say that we didn't have a plan, we didn't get a strategy for the future, but we would say now, and this is for history, Thank you so much. Thank you.
تحية تقدير واحترام لبطل حقيقي. البطل ده هو مصر وشعبها. الحكاية مش حكاية لا حكومة ولا قيادة، ده حكاية كل مواطن في مصر. أكرمت مصر وشرفت مصر وعزيت مصر، انتم قتلتم. فالشرف كل الشرف والكرامة كل الكرامة والفضل كل الفضل لله سبحانه وتعالى، ثم ليكم انتم. شرفتوني واكرمتموني وعزتوني ورفعتوا راسي قدام الدنيا كلها باللي انتوا عملتوه. والله 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 لن يستطيع اي رئيس يقف مكاني هنا انه يقدر يعمل حاجه بدونكم. لن يستطيع. قصه وطن يتحدث عن نفسه، شعب أراد الحياة فاستجاب له القدر.